Good afternoon. This is Chris Brecher with Simpler Trading in the Chart Patterns Mastery Room. Free video for May 11th, 2023. What are we seeing in here? Well, number one, similar patterns a lot of times have similar results. I'm watching this carefully. That's the bond market on the left, which was rallied the last couple of days. And here's Bitcoin on the right. Isn't that amazing, the correlations right here? I find that amazing. So the key to me is if this breaks down, but what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is a flight to quality. So the weaker the economy is perceived or that the regional banks get whacked, the more that they seem to rush into this and rush into that. Until today, the big old divergence. So it's going to be real interesting to see if this decisively breaks the Bitcoin, if this is going to eventually follow. Even though they don't have to be perfectly correlated, it's going to be real interesting to see what happens with that. The next thing I wanted to show you was this, all about divergences. Now, what am I talking about in here? On the left, here's the ESs, and I'm going to go take it on a 2-hour chart to give you a perspective. So on the left, this is the little dive that you had yesterday midday. Markets rallied off of that, then came back to here, and they bounced a little from there. The Russell got killed yesterday, rallied, and closed under it. So just put this little bubble here so you can know where the lows were yesterday. There's that. On the right, we're going to put the NASDAQ. And I'm going to go put a bubble for that so you get a perspective. That's the dive yesterday, May 10th, my birthday. This is the next level. Well, as you see, this is what I'm going to be watching. Right now, the Russell has undercut that area while the NASDAQ is up in the stratosphere. On the right, I'm going to show you the ESs. The ESs are basically where they were. Right there. They closed near that area like I mentioned. The YM undercut almost where it was May 4th. So the thing I'm looking at is the point of no return. If this and this, which have been the weakest, these two, if I see them decisively break and get down to these areas, they almost are, then I have to think the ES is going to try to approach this area, which is like 50 points. That's like the NASDAQ being way down. This is only where it was yesterday at noon. So it's rallied 220 points from the low. So down 220 would just get you where it was yesterday. That's amazing to me. So I'm just telling you that if I see the ES decisively break, then I'm going to play the NASDAQ on the downside. Now this is the next thing I want to show you with Thinkorswim. This is the NASDAQ, and I'm going to show you on 2 time frames. So here's the NASDAQ on a 1-hour chart on the right, a 4-hour chart on the left. Definitely, I think it's forming some kind of wedge. But you can lose a lot of money just anticipating a wedge. That's number one. Number two, though, which I wanted to show you, was the individual stocks within the NASDAQ and the advanced decline. The advanced decline on the NASDAQ today was down 1256, even though the NASDAQ was up 34. That was led by some very narrow areas like the big old FANG stocks. So this is what I'm watching tomorrow. And I want to warn you, this is the way I want to trade. I don't want to try to pick a top. I want to wait for a consolidation. And I'll show you on what we did in the last hour and a half. That's what we did. Yeah, we played around with the NASDAQ and the SPX. So this is what we were watching. When I'm trying to game the system, which means I'm trying to outthink the algorithms, on the right, I was watching this little break and then that consolidation. That was at 3:15 Eastern and consolidated up to 3:30. On the left, though, is now Meta on a 1-minute chart. What happened there? That's called a Brecher ledge. When after a sell-off, it consolidates and the bearish pattern, like a bear flag, becomes a trend line at the bottom horizontal. Now, if it sloped up, that would be just a bear flag. But when it's a bear flag with a horizontal trend line, I call it a breccia ledge. So right here, when we watch this rally, now all day this is rally, keep that in mind. So today, when this had an oversold rally, this couldn't bounce. So that's why in the chart patterns mastery, I said under 237, it could go down a point. Yeah, well, it went down a point in about 3 minutes. So that worked beautifully. So that's what we were watching to game the system in the NASDAQ. Was the NASDAQ more likely to break up if this was falling? No. It was more likely to go down. And that's exactly what happened. Now, for tomorrow, this is what I'm going to be watching, the big ones. And I'll take them on multiple time frames. Here's Meta on the left. Now, keep in mind in Meta, which is a pain in the rump, is that was one of the few NASDAQ stocks that has appeared to be a sell-off and then forming a bear flag. I know it did on the right, but it looked like it was forming one on the left on like an hourly chart. It hasn't broken yet, though, and today at one time it was up almost 5 points. So tomorrow, I'm going to try to concentrate on the big NASDAQ stocks, betting on a rotation. So today, this PPI came out, and also the jobless claims. It was a lot weaker than expected, or more jobless claims than expected, and that spooked all the economically sensitive stocks, whether the chip stocks, whether the Caterpillars, as you see down here, the Nvidias, and the Microsoft, and it just hurt those kind of economically sensitive. Microsoft, you got to see that break. How about Apple? I still don't understand why it hasn't gone down more. What do I mean by that? Yeah, it's economically sensitive, but you could try to play it all day to the short side and just get yourself killed. But then you got that head and shoulders, and that's what I share with everybody. I dual broadcasted on the Futures Room and the Chart Patterns Mastery. I'm usually always on the Chart Patterns Mastery. The beauty of this is what I've been harping on. If you're going to play a 1 minute ultra day trade short, you have to wait for the break and then the oversold rally. See the oversold rally? So this MACD got back to the zero line. I use a 3, 10, 16, just a 2-line MACD. It's right on Thinkorswim and it's on TradingView. The key was either you could break it here and short that, or you wait for the snapback. And that's worked great, and then it worked again. So all of these worked. I'm telling you, though, the more horizontal this line, the more fun, the more exciting, and the more you can make on the downside. So you see that had a rising trend line when this had that. Yeah, plunging trend line. That's pretty cool. So that worked fine. Tomorrow we're going to watch the Metas, the Googles, the Amazons, the Nvidias, and we're going to see if they withstand any rally in the NASDAQ. They refuse to go up. And then I'm going to play the QQQs to the downside. So have a great night. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chris Brecher, and I'm Senior Managing Director of Stocks at Simpler Trading. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you like our content, please leave us a like and a comment down below. Also, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell notification icon so you never miss any of our great new content coming out. Good trading, and we'll see you at the next video. Take care.